I saw Star Wars Clone Wars Season 1 for the very first time, and I'm going to talk about it in this video, the good, the bad, sort of a recap, episode by episode. I might skip some stuff, because there was some filler in there, but for the most part, it was pretty good stuff, so let's just do it. By the way, before we jump into it, how are you guys doing? I hope you're doing great. My name's Affan, if you're new to the channel. Welcome. So, Season 1 starts with, obviously, Episode 1, like everything. It's called Ambush, and in that episode we have Yoda taking along with him 3 other clones, and he's defending or protecting the King of Toydarians, or whatever, however you say that. They're basically trying to win his loyalty. There's Yoda, and like I said, his 3 trusty clones, and then there's Asajj Ventress, the assassin sent from Dooku, basically, and they're fighting for the alliance of the King of Toydarian, and Yoda, in typical Yoda badass fashion, gains his loyalty. Just him and 3 clones. Badass stuff. Great opening. I feel like you gotta see that episode if you wanna revisit the Season 1.
Toydaria would be honored to host a Republic base.
Then we move on to this arc about the Malevolence, which is a ship that General Grievous is captaining. And they have this deadly weapon. I think it's called the Ion Cannon. And they're trying to get rid of that, the Jedi that is. And so they attack the ship. Now, this ship, the Ion Cannon, basically sends out this sort of shockwave that disables everything that's in its way. And General Plo Koon, along with his clones, gets stuck out there, because they get hit with the shock, and at one point they think no one's going to come for them. They've pretty much lost all hope, and that's when you sort of realize that Plo Koon is actually a very wholesome character. He cares a lot about the lives of his clones, and like I said, the clones and everybody has pretty much given up hope, but Anakin and Ahsoka Tano, who is the apprentice of Anakin in this one. It's a new character that they introduced, and a very important one in this show as well. We will get to see them quite a bit later on as well. They decide to go against the Jedi orders, which is not to go for them and save them, but, you know, in typical Anakin, and also kind of Ahsoka, because she's kind of rebellious as well, kind of annoying a little bit. Like I said, very similar to Anakin. So they go back for Plo Koon and the clones and save them, and they then proceed to attack the Malevolence and try to take it down and take down the gun, and they do attack it, and they do it pretty well. I mean, they save a lot of lives to the point where Anakin is actually directly told not to take the lives he saved lightly, and to which Anakin replies,
"I don't, but I also can't take the lives I lost lightly."
And it was in that moment when I realized, wow, this is the Anakin, the same Anakin from the prequel movies. By the way, if you're new to the channel, I've seen the original trilogy. All 3 should be on the channel. And I've seen the prequel trilogy as well. All 3 of those should be on the channel as well. I have not seen anything past or before that. I'm going to watch Clone Wars like this, and then I'm going to go on to the next thing, and hopefully I'm going to knock out everything Star Wars related. But anyways, that was a very sweet moment and a very sort of profound line, you know, that Anakin says. You know, that guy then later on becomes Vader. Yeah. So that story arc is a pretty decent one as well. If you're going to revisit, I would definitely recommend it. It does get a bit stale in the middle, but the start and the end both is fantastic too. And while all of that is happening, they're trying to attack the Malevolence and everything. Padme and 3PO gets themselves captured by General Grievous. So Anakin and Obi-Wan has to change their plans a little bit, because now they have to have a rescue mission for, you know, these guys as well. And they do. They come to rescue these 2. Anakin and Padme has a little sort of romantic sort of a scene in the middle of all this chaos. I'm like, come on, guys, can you do this later? I mean, it's sweet and all, and I get it, the importance of it, but can we do this another time, perhaps? But anyways, yeah, that was a pretty good story arc as well. I would definitely recommend watching that. The beginning is brilliant. The ending is spectacular. The middle does get a little, you know, stale, but overall, it's a pretty good story arc. And then after that, it comes my favorite episode of the entire season. And it's actually a episode that, to be honest, doesn't really add much to the overall story of Season 1. It could be considered a filler, but it is such a good episode. Like I said, my favorite episode, that you absolutely have to watch it, because up to this point, the clones are just the clones. They're exactly that. They're clones of each other. They look the same, they talk the same, although in this show they sound differently. But that's not the only thing that's different in this show. They are given characters and traits and personalities. So we were in this station, and these rookies, the episode's called Rookies also, are sent there, having not completed the training program because of the war. They don't have enough time, and they need clones, and so they have to send these untrained clones. And so you see the war through their eyes, and you see the different personalities and different characters, and you see some of these people stepping up. Heavy, for instance, that's the name of one of the clones, who steps up to the plate when needed the most, and he gives up his life. He sacrifices himself so everybody else can be safe. It's a really good story, but it also highlights the fact that these clones aren't just clones. They're a bit more than that. They are individual people, and they have a bit of character. And so I really enjoyed that episode. And like I said, definitely must watch. But at the same time, if you really think about it, doesn't really add much to the overall sort of arc that season 1 is running with. But rest in peace, Heavy. You will be remembered. And we move on to another episode where Anakin has to take on R3, a new droid, because R2 is lost somewhere, and so they have to take a replacement droid. And yeah, that replacement droid nearly kills Anakin. He's all over. He's messing up orders, and just he nearly gets Anakin killed. And good, because that's what you get when you try to replace R2. There is no replacement for R2. All right. Soon after, Anakin and Ahsoka discover the location of R2, and they go to get him. Now, while they are going on this rescue mission for R2, they take the replacement R3 with them. And while on this mission, they learn that R3 isn't just making mistakes. He's actually a spy. So he's been a spy for the Separatists. Those are the Sith people, the bad people, the Dooku people, He's been working for them all this time, and he's been deliberately messing it all up. It wasn't just an accident. We then have a R2 versus R3 showdown, a duel, the greatest duel of all time. Forget Yoda versus Dooku, forget Yoda versus Palpatine, forget Obi-Wan versus Grievous, forget all of that. None of it even comes close to R2 versus R3. I'm joking, of course, but it is a pretty fun duel, and it's good to see R2's character sort of shine there as well. And so then R2 is back with the group, and he's rescued, and they're back. And so no more R3 or any replacement droids. Okay? No more, please. Then we learn that Padme's friend, Anaconda Farr, I believe his name was, has aligned with the Separatists. And we know that because they capture Padme. Yes, that's a theme you'll see over and over again. Padme getting captured over and over again. And you won't guess who comes to the rescue. Everyone's favorite, Jar Binks. I know how much you guys hate him. I don't really hate him, honestly. I get it. He's very annoying, but I do not hate him. But he comes and saves the day in his typical Binks fashion. Do you know what I mean? It seems like it's an accident, but hey, it's the end result that counts, isn't it? And at the end of it all, Padme's friend does apologize for the betrayal. They had no choice. And also, Jar Jar Binks is given the name Master Bombad, I believe, something like that. Jar Jar saved the day. He rescues from Gunray. And so Ventress then comes to rescue the now captured Gunray and have a duel. There's another duel. So that's one thing that I actually really like about this show, is that there's quite a bit of action. It's very fun, very entertaining. It's for a younger audience, and because of that, it is extremely fun to watch, but it also still has those moments, those heavy moments. See what I did there? Because heavy is the person. Anyways, you get the point. Unduli, I think it is, they have a duel with, and outmatches her and even starts to mock her at one point. But there's a turncoat there who helps Gunray and Ventress get away in the end. We do get to see the lair of General Grievous later on as well. That's where he gets repaired, I suppose. And we get to see Kit Fisto and Veb. Now, those two come to the lair of Grievous to defeat Grievous and Veb. Despite all the warnings and advice, whatever the word is, of Fisto, just straight up attacks. Grievous cannot hold himself back, confronts him, and unfortunately gets shot. He pays heavily with his life. Now, Fisto does manage to escape, and he reports it back to the Jedi Council as well. And Dooku is obviously not too happy about Fisto escaping. And then comes a brilliant episode, one that I actually really like. Count Dooku gets captured by pirates. And then they're looking for ransom for Dooku because he is a very high-value prisoner. And so they're asking not the Separatists, but the Republic for ransom. Chancellor Palpatine and them boys, right? The Jedi and them. Obi-Wan and Anakin are sent to get Dooku, and the pirates try to double play him. They try to drug their drinks, and the Anakin and Obi-Wan at this point does actually really well to avoid some of the traps that they lay him down, but still they get trapped in one of the traps, which is their drinks getting drugged, even though they do make a couple of switches along the way as well, and they're also captured. So now they have 3 high value prisoners: Dooku, Obi-Wan, and Anakin, the trifecta. And they're all 3 of them are put in the same cell, like together. They're literally like tied together. They're right next to each other. And then they have to come up with a way to escape and to work together. Now, and in that moment, there's another pirate whom they have a disagreement with. The 2 pirates, who would have guessed it? No honor amongst pirates. Pirates turn on pirates, and they literally stab each other in the back. And in all that chaos, our favorite Bar Jinx, Jar Jar Binks, comes in, and that opens an opportunity for these 3 to escape, and they do. Dooku goes his own way, these 2 go their own way. So in the end, the thing that Obi-Wan and Anakin were there for, which was to get Dooku, they don't get that, but they do walk away free from there, so there's that. Anakin gets injured in battle, and so that's when Ahsoka then has to learn a pretty important lesson, which is to detach, to not cling on to feelings, which is something that we have heard before, and it didn't really work, did it? Anakin was told that by Yoda, and it didn't really work. I mean, it's not that easy to let go of these feelings, right? Especially with teenagers. It's not easy. It's very tough, and like I said, we saw how Anakin failed to do that and what that led to then. But Ahsoka, on the other hand, though, she does manage, it's not easy, but she does manage to let go, and they go to a village nearby where they find someone who is able to then help Anakin. And in so letting go of Anakin, they're actually able to find help for Anakin, and Ahsoka at one point even mentions it, that because I let go, I was able to find help. And so she gets a really important lesson, and we get sort of an insight into how they're taught the Jedi way, right? And we see it actually, in this case, working out. So the Jedi are in trouble, Anakin's injured, there's a lot of casualties on both sides, and in all of this chaos, they come across some villagers, some pacifists. I say pacifists because they don't want to do anything with the war, but the problem is the separatists are coming, the droid army's coming, and they're going to attack them, so they have to fight or they'll get absolutely demolished. Anakin vows to help them. He says he will not let them get absolutely destroyed. Some of the villagers do come to aid Anakin and company, although the elders of the village are not too happy about that, and in the end they do manage to save the village from the attacks. And again, the elders are not too happy because they say, yes, we are safe, but at what cost? Then after that, they land on this place called like Plutonia or something, and there's some sort of an internal, imbalance. There's some sort of backbiting going on there. There's a dude who's a straight up asshole who thinks he owns the place, and there's a bit of conflict, and they're told to have peace treaties and negotiations and stuff, and doesn't really work out. The way the peace is resolved is not by the talks, but in the end, that one of those dudes, the one that thinks he owns everything, getting killed. So yeah, but they achieve peace. So the end goal, I suppose, is good. Then honestly, that's one of the episodes that you can totally skip. I wasn't a big fan of it. After that, then Anakin and Obi discover there's some treachery going on. With the help of Rex and Cody, it's Slick. Slick is trying to be slick, but they catch him. Why does Slick turn on them? Well, same reason the other dude did earlier. Because he wants his freedom. He doesn't want to be a slave anymore. And there again, you have a look into the personalities of these clones. This clone saying, hey, we're just slaves. We're just doing what they're telling us. I want freedom. I want to live my life. And for a second there, you're like, you know what? You've got a point. But let's not do that by putting everybody else in danger, though, do you know what I mean? Oh, and you wouldn't believe what happens next. Guess what? Padme gets captured again. Oh, yeah, exactly. Now, that's never happened before. This time, Barbar Jinx also gets captured as well. This dude, he's got this virus, blue shadow virus or whatever he's calling it, and they have to basically fight to not let the virus get out. Now, they do a pretty good job, but despite all their best efforts, they're unable to stop the spread of the virus. Even though they stop the bombs and everything from detonating, still somehow the virus does get out, and a lot of people get infected by it. Padme and Ahsoka, I think, in particular, out of the main characters that get infected, and there are a lot of other clones that get infected by it as well. And Obi and Anakin, as always, have to come up with a cure. They do. Everybody gets vaccinated. Everyone's good. Let's move on. That's one of those ones that you can skip as well. I didn't really like it all that much. Now, then, after that, we have an episode with Ahsoka, and I thought that was a pretty decent episode as well, because that's the one where we get a bit more character development on Ahsoka. Ahsoka is a bit rebellious, a bit out there, a bit annoying at the beginning as well, and this is her sort of first battle, really, as a leader. She's given charge, and she fails miserably. She almost loses all of her squadron, and she disobeys Anakin, and she learns a pretty good lesson. She learns that her actions have consequences, that she can't just do whatever she wants, and she learns that sometimes it's important to obey your superiors. And her confidence is very, very low, and you see sort of a different side of her. Like I said, she can come across as a little bit annoying, so that's when, you see her at her lowest. Her confidence is low. She's distraught, right? And then Anakin obviously hypes her up a bit, and he helps her out, and then her confidence rises a bit as well by the end of that arc. And he instills that belief in her, and they succeed. And there's an episode called The Innocence of Rioth, something like that. And they have this little kid, and that kid is walking through, and he's basically seeing all this stuff. And that kid basically, to me, represents the innocence. And to be perfectly honest, besides that, there's not much I liked about this episode. We found out that the people that live there, the residents, are used as shields basically by the separatists. But yeah, like I said, the best part for me, that's why I remember it so vividly, is the child. And yeah, that episode wasn't all that, really, let's be honest. That one you probably can skip as well. And then we go to the finale. Now, finale was brilliant. I loved it. They introduced a new character, Cad Bane, I believe his name was, and he is so cunning. He sets up these things so brilliantly. By the way, I love the way he's talking to Chancellor Palpatine, because at this point, not many people know who Palpatine really is, and so this guy doesn't know who he is as well. And the way he talks to him, I have a feeling if he knew who Palpatine was, he wouldn't be talking to him in that manner. But like I said, the guy is very clever. He's a bounty hunter. He plans everything really well. Now, Anakin gives his lightsaber to Padme for whatever reason. I mean, we know the reason, but come on, dude. Like, you're in the middle of war. Keep your weapon with you. But still, though, even if you don't have your weapon, you have the Force, and you got the midichlorians or whatever that thing is that you guys definitely love, right? You guys told me you guys hate that, but you're like one of the best ones at it, so I hear. So like, you shouldn't have that much of a problem, even if you don't have your lightsaber. Like, I understand that's your main weapon, but you got the Force. The Force is very much a weapon. If you want to use it that way, use it, dude. But anyways, yeah, that's pretty much it for the entire season 1. I liked it. I mean, yes, you have to keep in mind that the target audience was a younger audience, so you got to go in with that in mind, and you're going to enjoy it a lot then. if you go in with that in mind. And, it wasn't all just silly, fun, and goofy. There were a lot of moments like that. There was a lot of comedy there. There was a lot of action as well. And there were some dark scenes as well, like some of the episodes that I talked about that dealt with very heavy stuff, particularly the one with heavy, do you know what I mean? So it was very interesting, very enjoyable, and it expanded a lot on the world, but more so on the characters, which I liked a lot. Best episode, like I said, Rookies for me by far. Finale was great. Hostage Crisis is called. So yeah, overall a brilliant season. Do let me know what your thoughts are on that. I will be reacting to some story arc in season 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, and all of the remaining ones. But I'll not be doing all the episodes. I'll most likely be doing a video like this for each season, and those videos obviously go up first on Patreon, then they come over to YouTube. So if you want to see them first, you can. Link in the description to my Patreon, also to the reactions. Full-length reactions also go up my Patreon, and those videos go up way early on my Patreon as well. Thank you so much, every single one of you, for supporting me all this time. Thank you for watching the video. And if you want to see the rest of my journey with Star Wars, like the movies and shows and everything, I'm going to do all of it. Reactions and breakdowns and reviews and recaps and stuff like that. All of it. Well, go ahead. Hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, have a nice